I guess I don't know who else is online here. Let me just look. Who is taking minutes?
Absolutely.
Jane, do you know everyone who's online? Do we need to?
I do. I
Okay.
do. Yep.
All right, then I'll call the meeting to order. The first, the only order of business is to have a public hearing related to the $1.6 million bond issue for water meters. As I understand it, the Budget Committee voted not to recommend this at their last meeting.
Correct.
So if that does not change after the public hearing tonight, and again, it's after they've already voted on what comes to the public hearing. We'll have the public hearing in a few minutes here. After the public hearing, they will vote if they want to make any changes or not, but then vote what goes to town meeting. If the vote does not change regarding the water meters and they don't recommend it, it's the Budget Committee's budget that goes to the town meeting. Okay. On the floor of the town meeting, there can be amendments to raise the budget, but that's limited to 10%. Therefore, the most you could raise the budget is 10%, which is nowhere near the $1.6 million for the water meters. Even though it's a bond issue, it doesn't matter. So that means that this won't even come up or be allowed to come up at the town meeting. But we're obligated to hold the public hearing right now. You know, in the event that the Budget Committee goes forward and changes their recommendation and does recommend it following the Budget Committee's public hearing.
OJ?
Yep.
And I just stumbled into this today. And it's regarding the 10% limitation.
Yeah.
And it states that if the Budget Committee does not recommend it, the legislative body of any municipality may approve a bond request despite the 10% limitation in the following manner. Governing body shall place following statement. I won't read every bit of it. The government body will place the following statement at the beginning of the warrant article. It says passage of this article shall override the 10% limitation imposed on this appropriation due to the non-recommendation of the Budget Committee. And immediately below, the bond request on the warrant shall be displayed the recommendation of the governing body and the recommendation of the Budget Committee. I think that's it. I think you can, but I'm not certainly not deeply knowledgeable about it. But according to this, you can add it and override the 10% limitation.
I was not aware of that language, so thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So it's your meeting, OJ.
Yeah, no, that's I was not aware of that, and again, I don't
want to recognize Butch. You do.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Butch.
Mike scooped me. I did do some checking today, and so you do have that ability if you choose to. So thank you, Mike.
Sure.
No, that's so you do have if you choose, and I'll sign off.
All right. I'm not going to go into a long explanation of this. I think that everyone on this Zoom call right now is aware of what the situation is aware of the pros and the cons. Most people have opinions on this already. You know, the kind of the summary of the history is that you know, from back in early 90s when these were installed as part of the water treatment plant, there's been discussion about using water meters and charging for water. The problem has always been setting rates that are acceptable. Any any program that charges for water in this town is going to shift the burden of the cost of water and sewer from the high value homes to the high water users. And that's been the dilemma of this town, and basically what I guess in my opinion has caused a lot of people not to want these. I can say that we have formed a water committee that has met numerous times to talk about various water issues, but the water meters have been kind of the main focus. The water committee did vote to recommend the purchase and installation of water meters. The water committee did vote to recommend what was called the option number 2 from Ralph Tullis, who did the water rate structure study for the town. We saw last year what a drought can do. We also saw that people were able to reduce water usage. Our water usage in town went down when we made the request to do so and the mandate to not use outdoor watering. And I think that water meters would do that on a more continual basis rather than just during drought times, that people will be more conscious of what they use for water because they're paying for it. I think there's an ecological point for doing this, that obviously, water is a valuable resource, and when it's thought of as being free, it does not promote conservation of that resource. And I also think that the infrastructure for both water and sewer, through the reduction, the conservation aspect of this, will make our infrastructure last longer, just because of the reduced demand. It'll be a longer time before we need additional water sources, and it will be a longer time until we need to upgrade the sewer, at least based on current capacity. As the water meters and the charging for water reduces demand, it will just expand the amount of time that the capacity lasts. I think that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to open this up first to the 2 other selectmen if they want to add anything.
I just want to add the importance, what I feel is the importance of water meters for several reasons. Conservation being one, not by any means the least, for both the water resources and our sewer system. Lowering water consumption will also lower or help lower what goes into the sewer system. They work hand in hand. The affordability of water meters is the contentious item, I think. The fact that we're not getting any, we don't qualify for any grants, to me is huge. We literally do not qualify for any water or sewer grants out there, any of them. We are not the only community facing this. Woodstock, I spoke to Judy, I guess it was a couple months ago now. They have redone their billing system because they weren't charging enough for water. They needed to charge enough to pay for what it costs to make water. So that's what they did. They hired someone to come in and figure out what it costs them to make a gallon of water, and that's what they're charging. So that now they can qualify for grants again. They were getting looked over for many grants because they weren't adequately charging for their water. That's huge. It's important. The free money that's out there for water and sewer can't be overlooked. I just think being able to measure our water, conservation is the key for me. Grants is huge. I think they're really important. I think that Lincoln has to step up and we have to get water meters in and start charging for our water. Jane, I didn't know if you have anything to say. Jane, you muted.
Can't hear you.
I'm gonna do that to the very end, mute myself. So can you talk about the sewer that you were talking about? I don't know, was it night before last, that they had a grant to pay for it? Was it $12 million? You talked about a sewer that was put in one of the towns.
There was a town recently, and you know what? I should have looked it up and I didn't.
okay,
I
but-
read it. It was months ago when I read the article. They had to do a total sewer system rehab, not only on their sewer plant, but on part of their infrastructure, their lines coming into the sewer system from, I'm not sure where in the town. And it's a little bit larger than Lincoln, not hugely. And I will look it up so that I have those numbers. And if I remember correctly, it was $18 million was their project cost. And they had all but 10%, if I remember correctly, was covered in grants.
Right.
So, I mean, that's huge. If we get, I mean, even if we're a fraction of that, say we're half to redo our sewer system, we can get, pay 10% of that. That's huge.
Right. I support them, and I'm not doing it for myself because I'm going to be honest with you. If I was doing it for myself, I wouldn't want them because I own 4 short-term rentals and I do laundry. So you imagine the amount of laundry I do, imagine the amount of money you could make off me. But I'm already thinking about laundromats might be cheaper in the long run. But the reason being is I'm voting for it is because for the future of the town. With all the building that I know is coming around in the last 6 years I've been on the board, we need infrastructure to provide for more infrastructure. We need to have water all the time and not have droughts. It was great that everybody shut off and we saved all that much money before with the folks. That was awesome, but it was also the end of the summer. As Ron was saying, it was into spring. That's not in human nature to do that. And that's not a bad thing, it just is. People will come up and use as much water as they possibly can without even knowing it or doing anything wrong. I would, if I'm gonna go out on vacation, if I ever do, I'm going to use water. I'm going to take a jacuzzi. I'm going to have fun. I'm not going to think about, oh, the town is paying for all this water, and I think we have to look at that. And if you're going to look at your town growing and allow it to grow to the way it is, then you have to be ready for it. That's all I have to say, really.
All right, then with that, I'm gonna open up the hearing here for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Whoops. Go ahead, Cindy.
Yes, I just like to ask Butch because I know we've been through all this before, and I think way back, one of the reasons the water committee was organized was to approach, the water situation in Lincoln. And I know we're looking at issues with regard to fire protection. What about potable water? Where do we stand with respect to demand? And maybe Butch or you could respond to that, because my understand, we're not flush with water, so maybe I'm wrong, maybe I misunderstood, but if someone could explain our current water supply and how conservation could extend that.
I'd be happy to take a stab at it, but I'm gonna look at Dave Bowden's on. And if anybody knows the production capacity of potable water in this town, it's him. I'm not sure Dave wants to, but if he does, if not, I can recite pretty much what Ralph Tellis found out and what we know, but Dave, you weren't expecting it, but that's something you want to address?
Yeah, I don't mind. We currently have the capacity to do 1.75 million gallons of water a day. And right now we are at between 500 and 700 or 800,000 a day. So the capacity is there to make water. The point of it is at busy times, we're up over 1 million, 1.2 million. And that's just growing not this year, it's not because of COVID. I mean, everybody says, well, we're busy, the town is busy, and it is, but to me, the businesses aren't that busy. They are busy, but with their reduced capacity that they're allowed to have, they're not, and the hotels and lodging isn't here. They're in condos and short-term rentals, but they're not in the hotels and everything like that, I don't think. And so our water hasn't gone up like it normally would at this time of year, especially this time of year. We did 20 million gallons last month in January for the whole town. And we were up to 22 in 2 years ago for January, 22 million. So we are behind in that. We do have the capacity, and this whole thing started out with fire flow and everything like that, and we're still in an issue but that's more of a pressure issue with the different zones that we have. But the other point and Tammy made, and I had a spiel that I was going to do for the budget committee. So I don't know, I'm assuming that the select board is still in favor of all this. So I won't waste all the time on that. I'll wait to talk to the budget committee and see if that doesn't fall on deaf ears. But that's, we do have the capacity, but we don't, the source is really what's going to drive it all. And everybody knows how the last summer was. And we can say, yeah, we can add another cell to the water treatment plant, but if we don't have the water to make that cell work, then we're left behind. And the other part to Tammy's thing about grants, and we're not getting grants, if you go to look for another source, the state is not going to allow you to get another source unless you have water meters and you bill for water. So it doesn't matter if we could find one that has 20 million gallons a day we can get out of it. They're not going to let us get that unless we do that. So sooner or later, if you want to continue to grow and have development, you're going to have water meters. And we've seen it from 2002 when they've started talking about doing billing for water meters, that to now what the difference in cost is to put meters in and do the billing and stuff. I don't know if that answers your question or not, Cindy.
Mhm. No, I think that's a very important part of it is where we stand. And I know when we first started, we were looking at it during the summer months. We were pretty close to using some days we were close to using our max water supply. And I think that's important for people to understand.
All right. Thank you, Cindy and Dave. Thanks for the good answer there.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Dave.
Yep. And Jack had his hand up.
Thank you, OJ. Dave, thank you. I certainly respect your opinion and everything that everybody else has said here. And I strongly believe in the conservation factor. I know for a fact that we can get grants once we start charging for water. That's without water meters. I'm a believer that we have to charge for water. But by the same token, I don't believe that we should be spending close to $2 million or more than $2 million on the installation of water meters. We know that when we asked people to conserve this summer, gallonage went down by about 1,000 gallons. Is that correct, Dave? 100,000, excuse me.
Right.
So consequently, we know that if we educate the populace, if we let people know that, hey, we're going to start out with $100 a year, that would give the town roughly $400,000, maybe $500,000. That money could be dedicated to improve the water system, to improve the infrastructure, and to improve the storage system. That way there you would be eligible to get grants. Again, I go back to one of the things that I said early on. Education is so important here, and education starts with our children. We don't want to be penalizing the locals who have 2 or 3 kids who are taking baths, who are taking showers, who mothers are doing laundry or fathers are doing laundry. And consequently, I think that a number across the board would get people to realize if we don't start conserving, that the rates would have to go up, that the Board of Selectmen would have to increase rates. I think Scott Klang told the Water Study Committee, or told the boards of selectmen at one point when I was at one of the meetings, The average water bill in New Hampshire is over $500, $516, if my notes are correct. We don't want to go there. We don't have to go there. As Tammy said, she recently talked, or a month or so ago, talked with Judy Welsh, as did I a few weeks ago. And their rates are going up to, I think, $165 a year for 24,000 gallons of water, and then 2,000, what was it? $2 for every 1,000 gallons after that. So again, once, I come from the state that they call Taxachusetts. And every time something was implemented, the cost never, ever went down. The prices, cost always went up, whether it was a sales tax or whatever. We live in a state that says live free or die. I don't want to live in a town that says live free and we'll tax you to death. So I really feel that we need it, but I don't feel that we need the water meters. So I'm all in favor of charging for water, but just not the water meters. I've said enough. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thanks, Jack. Anyone else for public participation, comment?
OJ, do you have a dollar figure on what it would cost the average year-round, say, family of 3? With everything included, using option number 2?
Think, OJ, if you have that RAF Telus report, I believe it's in there. I don't have it in front of me. You
Right.
can extrapolate it out pretty easy.
I figured out the estimate on with Raftellus based on what my daughter's consumption is, a family of 5 in Woodstock, based on what she used in Woodstock, because they meter and bill, so she knows how many gallons she used. It would have cost her $359.16 if she had lived in Lincoln last year.
Per year?
With what, for the year, with what she used in Woodstock. And that's 2 adults, 2 young children, a teenager. They have goats, they have chickens, dogs. She had a garden, she watered. So it was not conservative water use. She used her water. And with what she used in Woodstock, it would have cost her, under option 2, $359.16.
That's with, okay.
Okay, so
I have
go
a
ahead,
ref
Jen.
tele- Oh, you got it? Go ahead. No, go for it.
I would say it's broken down into thousands of gallons, not
Right.
a guess of how many people are in the household.
Right.
So
Okay.
so the ref tell us option 2, if a family uses 25,000 gallons a year, they'd be paying $77. If they are using 50,000 gallons a year, they'd be paying $178. If they're using 75,000 gallons, they'd be paying $359, which I believe is the bracket that Tammy just quoted.
Right.
Right.
359 and 16 cents. I'm just eliminating the cents. 100,000 gallons, and I think at this point we're getting up either into large families or large houses with multiple bedrooms.
Jacuzzis.
For 100,000 gallons a year would be $540.
Mhm.
And then once you get up into 1,000 and 10,000 gallons, then it's 7,000 and 72,000 per year. But obviously those are major commercial water users.
Right. Okay. That's sort of what I figured out for for myself when I was looking at it, and it says the average family you use 50 to 75,000 gallons a year, and yeah, I came up around 207, 217, something like that, as the cost per year, which.
Yeah, that fits right in between the 50 and the 75,000 gallon.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. I split the difference.
Yep.
Was that for the, excuse me, but was that just for water usage, or are you
No.
asking the total? That's water and sewer usage both? On
Correct.
that, tell us?
That's
Yes.
correct.
And so I throw it out on the one hand, $100 a year flat rate, but no purchase of the water meters. And then just using myself as an example, $207 a year. And I get a water meter. And I say, I'm saying that, you know, lightly. What I'm saying is that I'm looking at that cost, and then I look at my taxes. And so that's basically maybe a 10% increase in my tax rate for the year. And so on the one hand, the 207 versus 100 doesn't seem like much, but a 10% tax rate increase does seem like a lot.
Mm.
So I'm just trying to look at and if I'm wrong in any of this calculation, if I'm saying if my taxes are $2,000 a year and now they're $2,200 a year, there's a 10% tax increase based on paying for the water and the water meters.
You do have to keep in mind, though, is that the water portion and the sewer portion of your tax bill are going to come out of that budget. Those will come completely out of your budget.
By 10%?
Jonna you figured out the other night what it was per
great.
budget. Per thousand, correct? And you're muted. Yeah, there you go.
What did you say, Tammy? I'm sorry.
The other night, Tuesday night at the budget meeting, you figured out what it costs per thousand for each budget, correct?
Yes.
What was it for water and sewer? Do you recall?
Okay. The sewer budget, which is number 16, that percent was 31 cents per thousand. And the water is 48% per thousand.
48 cents per thousand?
31 and 48, Tammy.
Thank you.
Yep.
And what is I have the budget here in front of me. Do you have the totals? What is the total water and sewer budgets? I can look it up too.
600,000.
670. We're getting, I think we're getting off on the wrong track here.
Yeah.
Okay, because the water rates are designed to raise $1.3 something million a year. Okay, and those rates should fully cover the water operating budget, the sewer operating budget, the water capital reserve budget, and the sewer capital reserve budget.
And
So
the bond
4
payment.
budgets we got to look at. If we're gonna do the math, we got to do all 4 of those budgets.
And the bond payment.
Correct. And the bond payment. If we take $100 a meter and we raise $400,000, okay, that is $900,000 less than what the water meters per option 2 is going to raise. And that $900,000 is going to stay in the regular budget. Okay, so right now, if regardless of what passes or doesn't pass this year, or I should say of the water meters, the water, sewer, water capital reserve and sewer capital reserve are projected to be in the $1.3 million range over the next 5 years. Okay, the water rates are designed to raise that amount. If we take $400,000 off because we're charging $100 per meter, the other balance stays in the budget. So your budget is not going to get down 10%. And when you're comparing the $100 you're paying versus the $200, just remember that the $100 you're paying is not covering all the expenses. You're still going to have another 100 or so in your tax rate.
Okay, so let me clarify, because when I start to talk about it, I shouldn't have gone into percentages, because if somebody's tax rate is higher and it's still $200, their percentage is going to be less. But overall is, from what I was wondering is, Tim, what I thought Tammy was saying, and we asked the other night and I wasn't sure anybody was able to answer it. Are you saying that all of those costs for the water and the sewer and everything that's in our budget now is going to come out and be paid by this dollar amount here? All right. And so what do you think the net effect would be on that $207? Am I down to 100.5?
No.
I guess we'd have to calculate what is the tax rate on $1.3 million, because that's what would come out of the budget.
Right, okay. And so that's not because my question from the other night, I think if everybody remembers, is that how much was going to come off of the water and sewer portion of our taxes? And I was just concerned that nothing was going to come off, but it sounds here as if you're saying that, no, that's all going to be replaced.
All of it.
All of it.
All of it.
In round numbers, $1.50 will come off of the budget.
Okay.
$1.50 on the tax rate raises 1.3-ish million dollars, and that's what the water meter charges are supposed to collect. So it'd be $1.50.
So $1.50 comes off on $1.89 going on. So there's only a 39-cent increase, 39-cent increase.
Where do you get the $1.89?
The cost, that was the effect on the tax rate for the meters. I think I read that right. No,
Thank you. Yeah.
Jonna?
No, the 189 was the revenue that the town will get without the bond. That's the
Okay, I'm going back to
revenue.
that. Yes, I'm going back to that original one. And I'm mistaken on that. So $1.50 is going per thousand is going to come off of the tax rate. It seems substantial.
It is. One
Okay.
thing I'd like to point out too, with the $100 per person raising the 400,000, it still doesn't qualify us for grants. That's the problem that Judy was having. I shouldn't say Judy. That's the problem that Woodstock was having, that Judy explained, that they still weren't qualifying for grants because they weren't charging an adequate amount to cover their water costs. Not necessarily sewer, but water costs. So that's, another reason why just charging $100 per person, adding it to the tax bill and using it for water infrastructure is not, doesn't qualify as charging for water unless it's metered. I've gone through that with Judy, and I was talking to somebody from the LGC. Oh gosh, this was months ago, about the same thing. It doesn't qualify, and it doesn't, you still won't qualify for those grants because you're not charging for water. You're just charging a fee and saying it's for water. You could charge the same fee and say it's for recreation or planning or roads and streets. It doesn't, you have to quantify it. And the only way to quantify your water usage is with meters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jack had your hand up, and then Dennis.
One of the things that I've said repeatedly is it would be a dedicated revenue stream. Whatever comes in would be dedicated for the water and the sewer facilities for upgrades or improvements. And again, I can do some numbers, and I don't want to listen to creative financing here or creative accounting. Consequently, if you take the money that you're saying, the 1.3 or whatever it is, you still have to pay for the sewer, you still have to pay for the water. There's $600,000. Then you've got to pay for your meters. So you still are hitting the taxpayer with, in my opinion, an undue and necessary burden. $100, people know what it is. You educate them. Hey, if we don't, you're going to pay more. But again, I think that's the way to start. At least we get something going that. And Tammy, I would disagree with you. I know for a fact, and I've talked to, actually went online, looked at some grants, water study grants in Washington, DC. Consequently, if you're charging for water and it is a dedicated revenue for water or sewer, then you are eligible in spite of not having water meters, because not everybody has water meters. We're well aware of that. And I think this also goes along to the discovery possibly of additional, as the very able Dave Bowden said, additional water resources for fire protection and for usage. As the town grows, you're gonna need more. And like you said, we need additional sewer resources. We know the sewer system is antiquated and would not pass the muster today. So we have to start planning for that for the future. But again, I disagree with the water meters, and I believe that we should start charging something to get the ball rolling and start with that number of at least $100. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis?
Sorry, I disagree with you, but this conversation is going in the right direction. I even put out a memo to the water committee that out of anybody, I'm sitting in Riverwalk, I should panic that I'm all of a sudden going to get a water bill for $20,000 or $30,000, and that's not in my budget this year or next year. But in that line, by doing that, that's going to go to pay the sewer and water departments. So therefore, my property tax bill will come down by X amount of dollars. I don't know what that number is. We're going back and forth with numbers here, and I'm not even gonna try it. But this goes along with everybody. It's with, if you're a homeowner, you pay $500, your tax bill is gonna go down by $300 or $400 or $500, and that is the way it's going to work. So now we have two other advantages, and Tammy brought it up, that the grant situation is, and if we're not eligible for grants, this is terrible. Butch came to me about over a year ago and he said, Dennis, would you be in favor of, if we were to get a sizable grant for maybe 50% for a new sewage treatment plant, would you be in favor of voting to pay for the other 50%? So a new plant costs $10 million. I'm rounding off again. And if we can get a grant for $5 million and the town has to pay the other $5 million, I said, which that's almost like a no-brainer, because I put up Riverwalk 1, we opened a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I paid almost $500,000 of tap fees. We're hopefully going to start Riverwalk 2. I'm going to pay another $500,000 of water and sewer tap fees. We just paid 20% of that other $5 million plus the grant that we can't get now. So we're stuck in this big hole to go there. Let me go one more direction. So I know I've been a part of these committees right along, and I know that we're going to go in the direction. Someday we're going to have meters. Someday we're going to count for waters like I do in all my resorts. I have asked my engineering department to put a well in the backyard over here at Riverwalk to take care of all my non-essential water. What does that mean? Filling up swimming pools, watering the lawns, and all that non-essential stuff, maybe washing our trucks, whatever it is. And that's going to save the town a lot. When we had that moratorium, I told all my properties to shut off their sprinkler systems and be conservative with your swimming pools and be careful with your outside watering. And they were, and that was a big part of that water going down. So can you imagine if I had meters? I'm not going to run my lawn sprinkler systems and filling up these swimming pools off the meter of the town. I'm just not going to do that because it'll cost quite a bit. And that's in a big way. In a small way, a lot of people are going to be doing that. They're going to be putting in saving shower heads, water saving toilets that we're mandated here to do as we build new things. I'll take it just one step further. Then I'm done. I sent a memo to Butch, and Jane sent it out to the water committee, that if you give away the first, I think it was 9,000 gallons of water, and then the next so many thousand gallons of water is at this rate, $1.25. The next above that is $1.50. The next above that is $1 something. I sent out a water bill from one of my other state properties, not here in New Hampshire. I sent out the water bill that I think that property uses 2.5 million gallons of water a year. So my first 300,000 gallons of water were at $1.25, and everything over and above that was at $2 per 1,000 gallons of water. So you can see the people that use the most water pay the most money.
saying that, and I'm shooting myself in the foot here, because Riverwalk uses several million gallons of water. We're about to use more, but you just pay the higher rate. And it's almost like the fees for building permits that was just imposed by the selectmen. Because Riverwalk is a bigger building, we pay a higher rate for a building permit. But it's the same thing, and that all goes into the water and sewer fund, which will, the family of 4 that lives in one house over here will end up paying less, because the bigger houses are the bigger properties, which would pay more. So I think that it will work out great in town. I really do. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Dennis. Cindy?
Yes, I just wanted, and I wanted to add, one in our conversations in, with the budget committee Tuesday night, I think one of the issues was several people had concerns about rate increases once it is installed, you know, and how those rate increases would be controlled. That they were concerned that the rates would just keep going up and there would be inappropriate controls. So they were looking at, I don't know, at the water committee or the select board, what is your plan for rate increases? You know, are you going to, mainly that these rate increases would be transparent, that they would be done through a system of public hearings or something where people could have input. I know when we voted that night, there was a lot of concern expressed about that. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to that.
Well, just to put that into perspective, right now, the way we charge for water is by putting together a water budget, sewer budget, and a capital reserve budget that then goes to the budget committee, and then it goes to the town. So it can go up every year. It certainly gets public venting, public input, committee input, and then it goes to the town. If we charged for water, it would be up to the selectmen, as far as I understand it, to set that rate. But it would be done through a similar process where there would be a public hearing to do that. So there would be public input, you know, and this whole thing about, well, once you do it, the rates are going to go up and go up and go up. Go back 10 years and look at the water and sewer department budgets that your budget committee has approved. I mean, go look at them. You know, it's not going to be anything new. Paul?
Yeah, OJ, I have a couple questions. If we were to charge for water, what would happen with the entities that we deal with Woodstock? For example, the school, would you recommend that the school be metered and that be the school pay a fee for using water and sewer as well? Same at the Cancrack, same at, you know, wherever else we have combined facilities. What's your opinion of that?
My opinion is that it would be a Board of Selectmen decision that I would want public input on.
I mean, we can address that. I'd like to address that too, I guess, with Cindy's question about billing adjustments. And billing adjustments, you're right, will probably go through the Board of Selectmen, but the Board of Selectmen would only take that input in, and then they can make whatever decision they want, irrespective of whatever they may agree or not agree with the public at that time. So the adjustments in the billing from the Raftilla study and from Ray Korber indicated that within the first 5 years, you'd have multiple times the increase. The other question I have is that the employee cost or the labor that would be involved in billing and setting that up all within town, do you know if that was included in the rate that the Raftella study was going to charge?
Off the top of my head, I don't know what they included for a.
See, I went through it and I couldn't find anything where labor was, you know, any of the increased costs for implementation of this was in there. I knew that they'd assumed a new sewer treatment plant They had assumed some other things with the water. But I couldn't find anything that indicated the cost to the town as far as the implementation.
You mean
Then-
installation of the meters?
No,
No. The
Billing.
implementation of the billing and stuff, Tammy, that would happen.
Gotcha. The software is, but the software is all included in that.
Well, the software is, but I mean, we're gonna have to have billing, people reading, going around. I know there are radio remote controlled meters. So, are you gonna need another staff, another truck? I know like
Yeah.
the sewer,
You don't drive around and read them. I'm sorry, Paul, to
Yeah.
interrupt you. Just to clarify, it's all online. Somebody will sit at a computer at town hall, get all the bills, and the billing software is also included in that. So when they see your bill, they hit a button and it produces the bill.
so
It's
no one has to
right
drive
there.
around with it. No one has to
It's
drive
set-
around with any type of
Well,
equipment.
it's satellite controlled.
It's
Same
all
as
satellite.
Woodstock.
And you will have the access on your phone to read your meter as well. So that if you're off on vacation and the toilet blows up, you'll get an alert on your phone and you can send someone there to fix your toilet.
So who will be sending out the bills? Is it the town? So will
The
we need
town
more
will.
staff for all of that? Or will that be handled with the current staff?
We-
That's a great question.
We've not made that decision yet. We will have, someone will need to physically send out the bills, okay? Whether that's current staff, whether that's subcontracted out, we've not made that decision. Butch?
Yeah, just somewhere in that report, when Raftellus did that, they took in the operational costs today, or at the time they were doing it, which included salaries and of the water and sewer
Right.
things, and they counted in. So all that you're seeing is the operational costs as of whatever date that report was. Obviously, if we put this in, we would have to adjust that to the costs. And those costs, like everything, Paul, 3%, 5%.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's gonna go up, but that will happen whether it's in the tax rate or otherwise. But yes, the scenario for you folks to know is the operational costs, including capital costs, have to be figured into the per gallon usage, okay? And usage is the fairest way to spread it out amongst your community. And as was mentioned, and I'll get off here, as was mentioned in the budget committee tonight by someone, I don't remember who, something about catching scofflaws and, like that. And I think that is a very important thing for you as a community to understand. We don't know, obviously, we can't look into people's homes regardless of where you are and see what's being used. We can't look in to see if you may have broken infrastructure unless all of a sudden it boils out of the ground. That's all costing money, okay? And what we do know is that some of those seasonal homes, but yet, and I'm from anywhere from 6 to 12 bedrooms with that many baths, is going to almost certainly be short-term rentals. And we will know, and more importantly, the property owner will know quickly what the cost to the town of Lincoln is going to put on in for that usage. Right now, it's just a private home, okay? That may have been built for a family of 4 or 5, but with 6, 8, 12 bedrooms, and believe it, we have that, with as equal amount of bathrooms, you can almost know, okay, that water use, and we're going to identify, that's going to be quickly identified, and those people would be paying their fair share. Do they have to stop using the water? Nope. But they're going to pay their fair share. And that's what I wanted to make sure good. And
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I just like to continue a little bit here. I certainly am in favor of the meters. I have a very big concern about the adjustments in the billings and how those are happening. And I know I opted out for option 2, but after looking at it, I still have a great concern about the fixed charges versus the volumetric charges. I mean, you know, we're going with a more volumetric charge versus a fixed charge. And hopefully the reasoning behind some of this is that if we charge for volume, that will have conservation. But if the volume that people start using goes down, our fixed costs stay the same pretty much or rise. And if we don't have enough to cover the fixed costs, I'm concerned that we're going to have to do something that way. And in all the literature I've read, the biggest concern of having a volumetric charge over a fixed charge is, you know, more volumetric versus fixed, is that your fixed charge doesn't go down. It tends to stay the same or go up, you know, and you're really hoping to drive that volumetric down, you know, to get some conservation. But, and if you do, you know, you then have to start adjusting your fixed charge, which means more adjustment and more things. And that's why I'm concerned about, you know, the adjustments in the first, like I said, 3 to 5 years are very important. And unlike Dennis has the ability, and I don't want to pick on Dennis, but Dennis has the ability to pass any increases pro or con onto his users. Homeowners don't.
That's wrong. That's wrong, Paul. Absolutely wrong. I have to
Well,
stay competitive for one
do you-
town, one resort to the next resort, to the next town, to the next town.
Well, you still have the ability to pass
it.
it on, Dennis.
If I may,
Well, I mean, look, all businesses try and pass on their costs, whether it's Dennis or some other business. They try to include that in their cost of operations.
you still have to be, competitive.
Taxpayers don't. They don't have that. The little taxpayer doesn't have any ability to do that. So, I mean, that's what we got to watch out for here, I think. You know, there's a lot of people on fixed incomes and a lot of people who are not doing very well this year. And I understand that this probably won't be implemented until next year. Like I said, I am all for water meters. I just think that we're not addressing the elephant in the room, which is the adjustments. And I think that's the first 3 to 5 years. There's going to be a lot of adjustments, a lot. And I think that it's important to figure out how we're going to handle those. And I'm not saying I don't have some trust in the Board of Selectmen to do that, but it sure isn't to this degree.
Dennis, did you want to respond to any of that?
Yeah, I would just want to say that the fixed costs are much smaller than what the volumetric cost is. So I gave an example to the water committee as well of a home that I have, my son's home on Cape Cod. That the fixed cost of that particular house was $81, and the bill for the entire year was $375. So you still got to go to the bathroom and take a shower every day. Sorry. So you still have to use the water. So you can never conserve. You wish you could. You can never conserve that much to go down below the fixed cost. There should be a fixed cost. I agree.
Right.
But
Dennis, I think you're missing the point.
Wait a minute. No,
my fixed cost on that particular piece of property has been at $81 for I've owned it for 12 years. It's been the same thing for 12 years. They've changed 1 or 2 cents on the volumetric costs. And I still like my program, and the selectmen might want to consider this, of there's a cost at 100,000 gallons, there's a cost at next 200,000 gallons, but anything over and above that, the cost per 100,000 gallons raises by several, by another 30 cents per thousand. And that's where the big houses and the VRBOs and the Airbnbs will really end up paying more. And again, I'm shooting myself in the foot because here at Riverwalk, we probably use 6 million gallons a year. And we do read our own meter here. But anyway.
And Paul, I have to respond to this whole thing about the selectmen can charge whatever they want and raise the rates. We need to raise $1.35 million a year. That's what we're doing this year, and that's what we need to do into the future. Yeah, there will be some, small percentage of increase, but that's what we need to raise. So when you say we're going to be, jacking the rates up over the next 5 years, we're looking to raise $1.35 million. Now, we're taking our best guess at a rate structure that will do that. As water is conserved, and we don't know how much, the water usage hopefully will go down. And if that target revenue comes in lower than that, we will have to make adjustments to bring it up to the 1.35. On the other hand, if we've overestimated and we're bringing in 1.45, we can't spend that money. It still has to be spent for water and sewer as appropriated at the town meeting. And so that'll just come back to the town. So it's not like it's this wild spending spree that you're going to send the selectmen on, and we're going to jack the rates up and we're going to collect $2 million just because we're powerful and we can do that. We can't spend that money. So I mean, I think you're being unrealistic. Okay, we're raising $1.35 million now. We're going to do that in the future, and are we going to hit it right on the mark the first year? No, we're not, and we're going to have to adjust the rates to tune it into that $1.35 million. We'll have public hearings about it, okay, but we're not going to be jacking the rates up beyond what we need. I mean, there's just no sense in that. And I think what you're proposing is you're saying, I'm for the water meters, but I'm not for any system that can realistically charge for water and make the $1.35 million. You're just saying.
That's not true. That's not true, OJ. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's what I'm hearing, because you keep objecting to any process that allows an adjustment, knowing that we have to have
No.
adjustments.
I didn't say I was objectionable to the process of adjustment. I said I did not feel it was in the best interest of the town to have just a selectman in charge of that process. I think that you should have a water commission to be able to do that. That's made up of business people, taxpayers, and maybe some administration. And would be fairly represented, and those things could be looked at that time. I know Butch said that you can't get people to run for office. Well, I called down there today. There was only 2 positions that were unfulfilled. So, I mean, there are people that are interested in being on some of those things. And I think that something like a water commission, you could find people that would be interested to be on there.
And if we had a water commission, you would support this?
Yes, sir. An independent board. Yes, sir. 1000%.
All right, Ray had his hand up.
I apologize that I came in a little late. My son's birthday today, and he just called, so I took a break from the meeting. If this has been covered, I apologize. But do we have a requirement that everybody certify the number of bathrooms that they have in their house?
It's supposed to be done through the assessing process, which we're in the middle of right now, where we're doing a full assessment of the town and they're calling to verify that. The preference is to do that with people going into, the assessors going into your house and verifying. Because of the COVID situation, they're doing all that on phone, but there is a process that we attempt to do that. It's not 100% successful.
I'm just thinking about the Airbnb houses that have 6 and 7 and whatever, 25 bathrooms or whatever the number is. That's the issue. And to the extent that we know somebody is in that category, is there some way we could send them a inquiry specific to their situation?
You mean asking what the number of bathrooms is?
Yes.
I mean, currently we are doing that. I don't know if you've got a letter from the assessors. They sent some out last.
Better, but that's, I guess I don't know how to force the right answer out of people.
If they're gonna lie, they're gonna lie to whoever calls, but they're an agent of the town, and when they call, they say we're from the assessing department of the town of Lincoln, and they go through a series of questions of which the number of bathrooms in each structure is being asked. So if they lie, they lie. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I'll just use my house as an example. The number of bathrooms in my house hasn't changed since it was built. And that's in the construction plans that you guys have on record. So that's what it is, it is what it is. that's a lot different than some of the renovations I've seen where bathrooms have been added for every bedroom. And suddenly there's 7 or 8 or whatever. I think that would greatly influence water usage. That's my only comment. And I understand where you're coming from, like OJ, I guess. My question was an okay question with no answer. I mean, no practical answer.
Right,
Cost,
right.
right? Yeah. It's a good, great question. There is no answer.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you, Jim.
Thank
Just
you.
a question, a lot of people, they aren't letting strangers in their homes because of the pandemic. So I mean, what are you gonna do if people start refusing entry to the installers because of the pandemic?
Oh, the installers of the water meters?
Yes. Mhm.
That, I don't know.
The notice doesn't require entry.
No, I'm not talking about the assessors. I'm talking about the crew
physical
that's gonna
meter.
install the water meters. They have to come in the house to install the meter.
I'm sorry, Jim. I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's okay.
That's a bridge we'll have to cross when we come to it, Jim. It's a valid question and it's one we can't answer right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may be a mute point. I hope not, but it may be.
Yeah, I understand. Same question I had in a way. Yeah.
Go ahead, Butch.
Just to answer Ray's question, I think anything new coming through the office right now, new construction, and it's been that way for the last several years, is if it's a new construction, obviously, because they have to have their water sewer tap fees, they have to give us not only plans, but an accurate count of bedrooms, baths, et cetera. So we have that info. But currently it's just, and that's passed on to our assessors, obviously. So it's picked up that way. But what we don't know is those are private, like they're considered single family residents. And frankly, we know that it's going to be a business in a residential zone, that we know that. But is there any way to capitalize and get that money? No. Metering water would get people's attention. So I'll just leave it at that. But currently we do get that count. And the planning department and Ron are the ones that usually are doing the reviews on that.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to raise question. I thought that with the Airbnb registration that we are now involved with, that kind of leads to some of that information as well.
Oh, okay.
That's a good point.
I'm not sure if that's how it is, but I thought that's why the reason was if we get it registered, they can go in and inspect to see just what it is, make sure the fire codes are all up to date and find out just what they have for everything. But and to Paul's point about having a commission, you want to be careful what you wish for, because when you have a water commission, they're elected officials and they don't answer to the town. They are they're regulated by the Utilities Commission. And yeah, they have to go, if there's going to be a rate increase or whatever, they might have to go to that, but they set the rate. And it's kind of like what I've been hearing in the past budget meetings that, well, the cemetery trustees, we have no control over them. They do what they want to do, or the library trustees are their own thing. And they give us their budget and we either approve it or don't approve it, but we don't have any way to change it or anything like that. So I just think, and having a water commission is, like I said, be careful what you wish for. If you want local control, yeah, they're gonna be elected, but who's to say Paul's gonna like who's got elected, and they're gonna set his rate.
Hey, thank you for a nice legal opinion.
All right, Ron, you had your hand up. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's mentioned that if we do the meters and it spurs conservation, it's not going to cost us the $1.35 million a year to operate. So we could see a savings due to that, that possibly could hold down the rate that we're paying for the water. And as we go further on, the older businesses and developments in the town, they may spend money to put in water saving fixtures and conserve even more. So it could go either way. You know, it could be like Paul says, we're going to see 5 years of increases to get to where we need to be, or it could spur renovations in older developments in town, condos, whatever, to save on their water bills. So we may not be at that threshold anymore of the 1.35 million to operate the water and sewer. And a lot of the places that, you know, at Thanksgiving start running their water continuously to keep the pipes from freezing until Easter would cease that operation, which would save money.
Whoa.
Just an opinion.
Yep.
Wow.
Right. Doesn't Lincoln Station do that? Like they have those trickle valves on everywhere?
I believe there's numerous places that do that. Yep.
Whoa.
Paul?
Yeah, I still would like to say that the fixed charges are never going to go down. They are going to stay, with the exception of maybe some chemicals and stuff like that. You're going to have the same employees. You're going to have the same water replacement, sewer replacement items that you're going to have, maybe even more. So everything I read from the 2018 New Hampshire Water and Wastewater Report indicates that you do the fixed, if you conserve, which is what you're trying to do by charging for volumetric rates, your fixed rates are still important to you, very important, because a lot of times you don't make enough to pay for that fixed rate and you end up adjusting. And sometimes it's a very big adjustment depending on what your fixed rates are. I mean, Town of Lincoln's looking at a sewer plant. I mean, we're maybe looking at another water treatment cell. The big elephant in the room we haven't even addressed, which is the fire protection. And that's all part of the water. Some of the water rates have a fire protection component to them. Ours doesn't. So, I mean, there's some things that could be changed. And that's why I said, I'm all for the meters, 100%. But I think we're going to have a lot of things down the road that we're going to have to attend to. And I certainly would hope that, you know, you could look at a commission. I firmly believe a water and sewer commission would be a lot more beneficial to the town.
And again, you're right in that the operating costs will not decrease as the water usage goes down, or at least it won't decrease greatly. You're right, we still need the same number of employees, same infrastructure, it's the delaying of the infrastructure replacement or upgrades that could save the town money. In other words, if we don't have to do the sewer treatment plant in 3 years and we can do it in 8 years, there's a savings there that we're delaying that expenditure. We're letting this one last longer. That's where could be some savings with reduced usage. Okay, and again, you know, you want to have an elected board set the rates, but just not the select board. And I don't understand that theory, but I'm not going to go there. Mike, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Just going back, you had 10 people on the committee, correct?
On the water committee?
The water committee, yes.
You know, it started out, there was almost 20 that came to the meetings.
Okay, as far as
And there
voting,
was some attrition over time, but there was generally, 10 to a dozen people there.
because I thought I looked at it, and wasn't there an overwhelming vote to go with option 2?
Correct.
Wasn't it right? So isn't that settled already? Meaning, like, would we negate everything that was done by the committee to switch it to a different form of pricing?
No, I don't think so. I think that the board would want to go with the recommendation of Raft.
No, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Right.
It's almost like the committee and all, I'm just imagining that this was discussed during the life of the committee, the different types and the different ways to charge and the different, and all the things. And at the end of all of that is there was a large majority that chose option 2.
Correct.
Which
Right.
was.
So I was like, so
recommended.
for looking at it from my part is like, I would be comfortable with that,
Right.
because that's what everybody that looked at it, not everybody, but most of the people chose option 2.
I think it was everybody.
No, I've got it right here. Tammy chose option 1. I had some questions about option 2, but I chose option 2. I mean, it wasn't really a vote. It was which one were you in favor of looking
Okay.
at it?
I was the
Yeah,
only
that's
one that
fine.
chose option 1. Every
Yeah.
other member of the committee that lived in Lincoln chose option 2.
Including Ray Corber had suggested option 2.
Ray's suggestion, but I didn't count his vote because he
No.
doesn't live in Lincoln.
Correct.
Yeah, we had a lot of discussion about which options, yeah.
Because I'm wondering if, I mean, are we past that point? As far as that can change anywhere down the road if you want a different pricing or the way you're doing it, but it's sort of, I'm just wondering if we're going over old ground.
I don't know. I mean, I think that option 2 is, if we pass this, option 2 is going to be what we adopt.
Yeah, right.
But I think Paul's concern is how it gets changed, and we know it's going to get changed.
Mhm.
Because we have no data to go on to
Right.
set these rates. We're guessing on old data and national averages and what ifs. So we're going to change the rates, and what is the process? Is it the 3 elected officials that are there now, or do we elect 3 unknown officials and let them do it?
Right. And just
Someone's got to do it.
my viewpoint
Well,
on
like-
that would be, my viewpoint would not be having a commission. That's just a whole nother level of complications and opinions. And as Dave mentioned, it's not even a town-run thing as a commission. I like to see the committee stay together, but not a commission. The select people, I would trust them to do it.
All right,
Thank
Dave,
you.
did you have your hand up?
Yeah, go ahead. Let Paul talk. I'm gonna think.
I'm fine.
All right. Anyone else? All right, either Jane or Tim, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second,
Second. Oh,
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so now the public hearing is closed. The Board of Selectmen, we're going to put this on the town warrant with that preface that Mike read that says the Budget Committee did not recommend this unless they change their mind at the end of their next session. But if they don't, we'll put in that sentence that says this will override the 10% rule.
I'm absolutely in favor of putting it on the warrant, and I would like to ask the Budget Committee to please reconsider their vote tonight at their public hearing.
All right, Jane?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it will be on the warrant. It will have the Board of Selectmen support, and I'll adjourn the Board of Selectmen's meeting and turn it over to Mike.
Okay, thank you, AJ. That was a very informative and helpful meeting. Okay, the Budget Committee will open their session to allow the public hearing to begin. And I'm not sure how many public we have hearing here. Is as a reminder is that the public hearing is for the public to speak. And maybe I didn't expect it to tie into this, but maybe with my last statement is a lot of these things on the budget, they have gone through the CIP, they've gone through the Water Committee. We've had 10 meetings, the Select Board has had 10 meetings. And I'm not saying anything of these controversial ones, but there's been an awful lot of meetings on this. And so the focus of the public hearing is for the public to deliver their input. So I think as far as the committee members, the Budget Committee members, it's not the evening for them to continue on about things. I think our input is somewhat limited here because it's things that we've been down the road on. So we'll put a 3-minute limit on 3-minute limit on conversation or on each speaker. And please announce yourself if you are with the public before speaking. And we'll open the public hearing. Are there any questions from anybody off the top?
Do you want a motion? Do you want a motion to open a public hearing, make it official, or do you just want to open it?
No, I just want to open it.
Okay.
Unless that's going to land me in jail.
Just ask him.
Okay.
We'll bail you out, Mike.
All right. Okay. Thank you. As I said, this could be a very short public hearing because I don't see anybody here from the public. David?
Yes, do you consider 3 minutes for each topic or 3 minutes total conversation? Because
Oh, no, just a 3-minute monologue. Let's put it that way.
I have two topics that I'd like to speak about.
Oh, yeah, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
One of them. And I'm very disappointed that the Budget Committee decided not to recommend the Selectmen's warrant article on the water meters and not giving the voters a chance to even weigh in on it. To me, they would have at least been given the opportunity to weigh. They might not vote for it, but at least they'll have the opportunity to. The Water Committee spent over 2 years working on, studying, and recommending what seemed to be a fair and equitable plan. We had a very diverse group, including residents, selectmen, a developer, a business executive, construction worker, town staff, as well as engineers doing studies, and professional group doing the rate study and analysis. It started out with the fire flow over 2 years ago, and it led us up to this point with the water meters. And we've spent to date almost or even over $100,000 in the studies from the engineering companies and this draft TELUS report in 3 years. And I know one question on the Budget Committee was, what's our payback going to be on the water meters if we put them in? And my question would be, what is our payback on this $100,000 that we spent if we don't put them in? The way I figured, it's zero. So we spent $100,000 to say, oh, we're not going to do it. Okay, and then I heard a comment, and it was from Jack, about education and how we saved 100,000 gallons a day when we put the water band on. That wasn't any educational part of it at all. It was mandatory. And we even had a resident complain several times about being able to run the water to water his lawn. And the Jack also wants to do this $100 fee, whatever it was, flat rate. I wanted to find out if he was also going to take our water and sewer tax out of the tax bill and just use this $100 per service connection. He come up with right around $300,000. That doesn't even cover the water budget itself. You have to, so if we don't take it out of the tax rate, we're paying twice for the same thing. We're paying the tax in the tax bill, and then we're paying another $100 for you wanted to put it for infrastructure and things like that. Well, I thought the rooms and meals are the bedroom tax that we have, or the impact fees, that was paying for the infrastructure stuff that we're having. And I already spoke about the Water Commission, the part of that, and there was one member that was on the Budget Committee and on the Water Committee. And in the Water Committee, he recommended having the meters, and he even voted for a rate fee. And now at the last budget meeting, he voted against the water meters. So I don't know what side of the fence he's on, or is he sitting on a post in the middle of the fence? That's it. On that.
You have some time left.
All right, now I'll talk about the extra position that you have included in the Public Works Department. And it's a half-time position to go along with the fire and the code enforcement. And I don't believe it should be put into the Public Works budget. Because I watched the meeting when the Public Works Director was there, and the whole conversation was around fire and code enforcement. And to me, that's where it ought to go. If those departments need it, then that's where it is. The Public Works does not need another guy for 20 hours a week. And I'm not going to get into the personnel issue part of it all, because you're not supposed to talk about personnel in public meetings, and I agree to that. But I'm just here to say that the Public Works does not need another guy. Put it under the department that is going to be using it. And that's all I got to say about that.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, David.
Do we have any other comments regarding the water meters? Anything else from the public? Anybody? I don't see anybody's name there that isn't tied to anything else. Dave, if I can ask you one question, and it always, I don't know, because you're right, there were, and I agree with that. There was a lot of breaking, not breaking news, which just popped up on my screen. There was a lot of effort and a lot of knowledge and a lot of skilled people and questions that went through that. And I know we're talking about the water for fire flow. And I was very surprised that the Legary land I thought that was researched very heavily and sliced and diced. I'm curious as to why, and I think you were in opposition to that, and the only reason it's relevant here is because you did say that a lot of people have studied this and a lot of people have worked through it. We've got a good cross section of people. But that's what happened with that last year, and it was defeated. And so I had to tie some relevance into this, so I'll just leave it as the question would that Legary land ever be reconsidered? Would you ever be in favor of reconsidering that Legary land?
Well, not for the purpose that they wanted it for, because what we found out was that the volume of water wasn't there. There was an error in the report that was issued that said there was 125 gallons a minute or something like that out of one well, and all the other ones only come up with 25 or 30 or whatever it was, but it was way low, and it turned out to be, it was inaccurate in the report that we got. So the water just isn't there for that. Okay. So I wouldn't be in favor of that for that. You know what I mean? It's not, okay. It's not going to solve the problem. So right. I mean, the land was fine to have the land, I guess, if you want to have the land, but to have it for the water, and it's not good potable water because there was contaminants in it. So to me, as a water person, I don't want to do more treatment, and yeah, you can get rid of it, you can treat it and do whatever, but that's costly, and it's to me, it just isn't effective. So, and I would also, the last thing that I will say is that I would really like the board to reconsider, along with Tammy's recommendation, to try to reconsider to at least put this on the ballot so the voters can have their say.
Okay, and if one thing, and I think I'm correct on this, is even though we're not recommending it, it can still be on there.
Oh, right. And yeah. From what I assume, it is going the way the select board just took their vote. But right. As far as everything else goes in town business, they townspeople at least seem to be more favorable if both boards or committees are on the same page.
Correct. Ray?
I want to thank David for his recollection on the Legary land. I didn't tie that together until he said it. And then I remember our discussion at the time, last year or whenever it was, 2 years ago, but there was the issue of volume, there was the issue of contamination. So I thank him for that comment. I think that issue is appropriately off the table as an expenditure. And David, thank you for your other comments. They are just great, and I appreciate them.
Yes, I do too. I do too, David. Further discussion? Further discussion on any of the other budgets that we have recommended? Nope. Jim?
May I make a motion that we send the budget to the town warrant as is?
There's a motion. Jim made a motion to send the recommended budget to the town in its present form.
I'll second that for discussion purposes.
Can I just be clear, so that the budget committee would be sending it to the town with no water meters? Is that correct, Jim?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make clear.
Thank you, John. I was wondering, okay.
But we're going to have an opportunity for discussion, right, Mike?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, that's why
yes.
I seconded it, so we could have.
That's once there's a second, discussion comes next.
Yeah.
Is,
I just want to clarify for the minutes. Jim, you're recommending the budget go to town meeting with no water meters.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
No, Jim's motion was to send the budget
As
As
is.
is, so
to
as
the
is
town
means
as recommended right now.
Yeah.
You don't make the statement that we didn't change anything.
John, correct me, that would be $8,219,950.
Yes, Jack, that would be correct. That is what the budget committee recommended
Yes.
as of Tuesday night's meeting.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Which is something that came out of last night's or the other night's meeting as an error. We can recommend dollar changes, and we can do that. But as far as even that, we should probably restate that motion. Is that Jim was recommending that we submit the budget to the town. We recommend the budget of $8,219,950. Once you get into with this or without that.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to clarify what it was.
Yeah,
So-
do the dollar amount.
That will be my motion.
Okay,
With
thank
that
you.
dollar
And Ray, you're all right with that as a second?
I am,
Okay,
for
All right.
discussion purposes.
now yes, okay, discussion. Cindy?
Yeah, I would just like to ask, and based on all the discussion we've just had, and I agree with, I respect Dave's input, Dave Bowden's input, and I would like to ask that we reconsider our recommendation for the water meters. And if anyone's thought process or position has changed since we voted not to recommend them.
Okay, Dennis?
Same with me. Out of everything that was talked about tonight and the considerations that were made tonight, I would like to ask that the budget committee reconsiders putting the water meters back on the warrant articles from everything that we have said tonight. I think it's a bad idea to keep it off.
Understood. Further comments, discussion on the Paul?
It's not going to be off of the warrant article. It's just a matter of whether the budget committee recommends it or doesn't recommend it.
Correct.
And I agree that a recommendation at least lets the town people consider it sort of neutrally. If we don't recommend it, that I think a positive, or I think us recommending it, if everyone feels that way, would be an advantage, and at least letting the voters consider it logically.
Okay. Jim?
Well, the voters are going to consider it logically. They can watch the YouTube video of the discussion, and they can make up their own minds whether they're going to get the opportunity to vote on it.
Dennis?
I think that the voters will have a better feeling and better knowledge if there's a recommendation from the budget committee as well as the selectmen to move forward. I'm not sure how many people really watch the YouTube meetings, but
True.
maybe they do.
Good point.
And if I may throw this in, yes, our recommendation or not recommendation is definitely influential. That's why the committee exists. So, you know, one way or the other, it does have an effect. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, the taxpayers, according to the warrant article I've got, warrant article number 5 is for the bond purchase and installation of water meters. It's going to be thoroughly vetted at the town meeting, irrespective of what we do here tonight, from what I see, unless this is going to change. So
Well, no,
it's kind of a moot point whether we do it or not. This is something that requires 2/3 majority, if I'm not mistaken. I think that probably Dennis is right, that if it goes with both recommendations, it probably stands a little bit better chance. I don't think I'm sitting on any fence. I don't feel anything pushing up my backside, but I'm not sitting on any fence. I have no problems with the water meters. The only issue I have is in how the changes are adapted. So I couldn't support it without having a different commission. That's my point. I will support water meters all day long in Lincoln, but not the way that they're currently going to be charged.
Okay. And I just want to say is like what I mentioned is that whether we recommend it or whether we don't is influential. So I don't see where it's irrespective of us. And yes, it's going to be fully vetted, and it's going to be questioned and it's going to be viewed. But no, we have a large impact on its passing or failing, given our recommendation or not recommendation. I don't think we have any restrictive effect on it being vetted at the town meeting.
No.
Right. Jane?
Thank you, Mike. That's exactly correct. And you would probably be called up to ask to defend your position, you know, by the taxpayer.
Yes. Correct, which we should.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Further discussion? Dennis?
Just one more time. I feel the same as Paul. I feel the same as I'm for making a recommendation for the water meters, but I especially, and I feel the same as Paul on the second half, I feel the same that, especially me, I probably have the most to lose that if the water commission or the water committee or the selectmen are not fair, if nobody's fair with the water rates in the town of Lincoln, I'm going to be on the forefront with my on the YouTube screen with Paul saying, voicing my opinion as to how it should work in the future. So I feel that we got to start someplace, and we've been sitting here for months, and as David said, we've vetted this out for the past 2 years in the committee, and we spent $100,000 on this. We need to start someplace. If we don't make a recommendation, this may fall flat, and then we're going to be in having the same conversation next year for the next 3 months by the budget committee and the selectmen. I feel Paul's right, but we got to start someplace.
Paul?
Look, I think the option to the voters of the town of Lincoln is go with the water meters and have some accountability, or to leave the system the same, which is putting it in taxation. If the taxpayers do not really feel like they're going to not have a voice, or that they're going to get any increased charges, and I'm not saying either of those are going to happen, it's the feeling, because something new always is tough to sell. It's been tough to sell water meters in Lincoln for generations. So we're not going over anything new here. We're going to have to change that. We're going to have to make them feel comfortable that this change is good and it's for the betterment of them. But I can tell you that there's a lot of people out there that say, why do I want to change what's here today?
How about if we let them tell us at the town meeting?
That's fine, Mike.
I mean, that's where the vote comes from, and that's where the people, there's nothing that, when they say they have a voice, they're going to have a voice.
Yes,
And
they are.
it's about as much of a voice as anybody could have. So that's why I don't think there's anything in our motion, one way or the other, that is restricting their input or understanding of it. So, I hear you. It's just, I just have I can disagree. So, further discussion? Tracy?
I move the motion. Can we vote?
Yes. All in favor of moving the question, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 We have one.
What are you doing? Moving the question?
The question, yeah, the question was to be moved. So now we're voting on moving the question. 1,
Oh, yeah.
2,
You move it.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Opposed?
Oh, wait a minute.
Mike, I just had a
I'm a little
question.
confused as to
Can you
as to
double
what the
check?
motion is.
Yeah,
Please
he's
double
asking
check,
if he's-
Mike, I don't know that there was an actual motion, but again, I don't want it to be a bad vote. Just,
No, well, and here's, tell me if I'm wrong, is Tracy's asked to move the question.
Correct.
Correct.
When I move the question, you immediately stop and I take a vote on moving the question.
Correct.
And so all we need is a majority vote to go to a vote. Majority vote on moving the question to go to the vote.
A vote to move the question, then we have a vote on the.
Correct.
On Jim's motion.
Okay, so
Correct.
if let's do this now because I wasn't quite finished counting. So all those in favor of moving the question, please raise your hand. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Al's in the
Opposed?
dark.
Yes, I don't know, Al?
Yes.
He's in the dark.
We see you.
Yes.
I saw his hand waving.
Okay, so
Yes.
that would, yeah, I can't, you're right, I can't see you. So that
I'm in
would
the
be
car.
11 in favor of moving the question.
11.
Opposed? I see no one. Abstain? I see no one. Okay, well, we moved the question and we'll go to a vote. And the motion on the table is to present the town at the town meeting with the budget that we recommend in the amount of $8,219,950. All in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Al?
Yep.
That's 6. Opposed? We have 1, 2. Susan Lutz opposed? Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 to 5. And I did not have this planned when I came in here tonight, but I'm opposed. So it's I'll vote in the opposition. So it's a tie. So the motion.
Point of order, you're gonna vote to make a tie?
No,
Yep.
you can't do that.
Yes, I can.
I don't believe Robert's rules allows that. I believe Robert's rules allows the chairman to only vote in the case of a tie.
No, I can
No.
make it. I can make a tie or break a tie.
Yeah, a chairman can vote to make a tie,
Oh, okay.
according to
Yeah.
Roberts.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I said, I didn't have that planned until, until after hearing everything tonight. So therefore the motion fails. So we're back to square one. We're back into discussing anything and everything. There would need to be another motion for anything to change. Would any, Dennis?
Make a motion to accept the budget. I don't know what the numbers are, but it includes the 1,600,000 for the meters. I don't know what the I don't know what the total number is.
That should be the $9,824,950.
I
That's-
second.
That's my motion.
Okay, so let me restate the motion. Is Dennis has made a motion to submit submit the budget, recommended budget in the amount of $9,824,950. Is there a second? Okay, Ray has seconded. Discussion? Cindy?
You're muted.
You're muted, Cindy.
I assume that includes changing our recommendation to recommend the water meters.
Yeah.
What's included, yes.
Yes, so that
Right.
amount is included, so now we recommend the meters. Okay, that's all I,
Yes, that's a good point. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of recommending the budget in the total amount of $9,824,950, please raise your hand and say aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I vote aye, which makes it 7. Opposed? We have 1.
Where did you, Mr. Chair, where did you get 6 from? Did you include Al, or I couldn't see if Al was voting or not. That's the only reason I'm questioning it.
You're right, and he's not, he's muted.
So I don't know where you got your 6 from.
Well, then I'll do this again.
Is that mute?
All right, all those in favor of recommending the budget to the town in the amount of $9,824,950, please raise your hand. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, myself is 7, Al,
He's dark.
Al?
Nope.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, Al. Okay, so you didn't, okay,
Did not raise my hand.
okay. All those opposed, please raise your right hand and say nay. 1,
Mike, before we do that, you voted without creating or
Nay.
breaking the tie.
that's
I don't know
correct.
if you can do that.
Yeah, I can do that.
You can? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
gotta
I can-
review Robert's rules then. They must have changed.
Yeah, it's one of the, I can, and I certainly don't do it because I can stand up and do it, but the chair can vote at any time. Or not vote at any time. So
Correct.
if I may, all those opposed to submitting the budget to the town, recommending the budget to the town in the amount of $9,824,950, please raise your hand, say nay.
Nay.
1, okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and Al is 5. So the motion passes 7-5 in recommending the budget in the total to the town in the total amount of $9,824,950. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
I feel very comfortable with the process. I think it was vetted amongst us and as much as it possibly could be. And I am more than happy to defend our decision at the town meeting, and I'm more than happy to go with whatever the townspeople choose to decide on the whole thing. I think it was transparent, and I think everybody had their say, and this is how it ended up. David, go ahead.
Yes, I'd just like to thank Budget Committee for letting me take the opportunity to speak my opinions.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome. You're very welcome. They're very well taken opinions too. Okay, anything further? Okay, is any other discussion anybody wants to bring up? Ray?
I just want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the way you run all these meetings. Thank you, sir.
Well, sometimes I'm better than others, but I want to thank everybody here. We have a good committee, and it's grown over the years, and I'm thrilled and honored to be here with everybody that's here.
I agree with that as well.
Can I make it?
Yes, Jane.
I just want to say goodbye to everybody. I don't know if I'll see people in the budget committee again. I really enjoyed the 6 years of being on the board, and I have seen the budget committee grow so much in the 6 years. You guys are amazing. And I am voluntarily not running just because of some things. But I just want to thank you all for what you do, and keep up the good work.
Well,
Thank
come
you,
back
Jane.
and join us on
Thank
the
you,
committee.
Jane.
Yes, there's always,
Thank you, Jane.
there's always a space on the budget committee, Jane.
Okay. Thank you.
But thank you. You've been a big part of this growth, and I think everybody, I can speak for everybody here, is I always trusted your opinion, and I knew it was coming from a serious sense of responsibility, and you've been a big help through this whole thing, and I'm very sorry to see you go.
Thank you. I try. I don't know everything for sure. It's not my forte in life, roads and all the kind of stuff and budgets, but I enjoyed it. It was a huge learning experience. So thank you. And I am so proud of all of you. Just watching you grow was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Tracy, motion, second? Dennis, second? Discussion? Okay, all in
Yeah,
favor?
whoa. I have one question. Do you have to accept the revenues as well, or is that all part of the bottom line? Just asking the question.
I think you should accept the revenues because if
I
you
believe
put
you.
it back in, the revenues will be the $3,220,024.
Correct.
So I
And
think
that's
you
why I
should.
believe we have to do that.
Okay.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Paul. Thank you, Paul.
I was figured I wouldn't go to jail if we didn't go back and redo those, because the total amount would have gotten us there, but you're right.
You'd have to break the vote, Mike.
It just makes it safer that way, that's all.
Nope, you're right. You're right. I see our total revenues, estimated revenues in the amount of $3,220,024. Is that correct? You're muted.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
Mike.
fine. All right. Is there a motion to recommend the estimated town revenues in the amount of $3,220,024?
So moved. Second.
Paul, motion. Dennis, second. Discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of recommending the estimated town revenues in the amount of $3,220,024? Please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Al's
6,
waving his hand.
7, 8. Yep, I see your hand there, Al. 9, 10, 11. Opposed? Opposed? Abstain? Okay, the motion to recommend the revenues in the amount of $3,220,024 is passed. Thank you.
Question, we have a meeting I have scheduled for next Tuesday. Is that canceled?
I think that's only for a second budget hearing if needed, right?
Okay.
If needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I
it.
will get the documents prepared, the warrant and the MS 737 as you guys have voted tonight, and then I will let Mike know when everyone can come in when it's ready to sign. And like I said, I'll set something up in the entryway so you can come in, sit at a desk and sign.
Okay.
Thank
By
you.
the way, thank you for all of your work.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Hey, John.
Yes, John, a
Thank you,
nice
John.
job, everybody.
Thank you,
And,
thank
and
you.
thank you, Butch pulled my butt out of the fire once or twice over the course of the year. I appreciate it. And OJ and Tammy, thank you for the jobs you do.
Thank you
Okay.
all.
Thank you
Thank you
all.
all.
Everybody.
Okay, all in favor of the motion to adjourn, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 is unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice night.
Bye.